So we're going to talk about Project Gigaton. Now, this is something that you launched, I think, last year, right? Kind of a big BHAG initiative at Walmart. First of all, give us the overview of what Project Gigaton is hoping to do.
Great. So Project Gigaton is Walmart's commitment to work together with our suppliers to remove 1 billion metric tons of emissions, end-to-end, looking through the whole value chain by the year 2030. And Project Gigaton is really a piece of our science-based target. So Walmart announced that we would adopt science-based emissions targets, and we were approved with our plan in the fall of 2016. So we have an aggressive plan in our Scope 1 and Scope 2, and we really needed a program and a new approach to think about Scope 3. And so our team, who many of are in the room today, worked really hard, Joel, looked back at a lot of work we had done over the years and said, you know, what about we develop a program, a simple platform for our suppliers to engage in, and we really go after a big target, really leveraging our full supply chain and really drive impact together. So that's what we came up with.
So let's give a little context. 1 billion tons, what percent, is that a little, a lot of your footprint?
Yeah, it turns out to be, you know, we've done our own analysis that looks at our own operations and kind of the extension in our supply chain. And of course, you know, most of the impact, as with many other companies, in terms of emissions, is in the supply chain.
In the 80% of somewhere, isn't it?
Yeah, that's right. So around 90%. So that's really the focus for us. And really, when you look at the pillars of the program, we really focused the efforts throughout Project Gigaton on 6 pillars.
And Danny, we have a slide. Could you bring that up for us, please?
Yeah, so these are really the 6 pillars we identified, Joel, that said, okay, what makes up that 90%? You know, what's in that Scope 3 for Walmart? And these are really some of the key drivers that we've identified. That first one is really through our supply chain energy, right? So we've had our own experience in our operations. Our suppliers have facilities and fleets as well, and there's a great opportunity there. Ag turns out to be kind of the second largest area of impact. We've already done a lot of work on areas like fertilizer optimization. There's more we can all do in ag. Waste clearly is a great opportunity, solid and food waste. Packaging, of course. Deforestation and land use is a real opportunity. And then finally, the one we're really seeing great engagement in is around how to engage customers, and it's about product use. So how can we work together with our suppliers on more energy efficient products or helping them on things like cold water wash? So it's really a full program that's really addressed all of those opportunities throughout our supply chain.
And forgive me if you said this, but is there a time-based goal for the gigaton?
So our goal is through 2030.
2030. So some of these things you've been working on, so your original goal set in, I think, 2005 was around renewable energy, zero waste, and greener products, and some, I can't remember the term you all used. How do those align, or is this the next iteration of that, or does the first one fit into the second? Explain the relationship.
Yeah, great. So yeah, you'll remember we launched our sustainability efforts a little bit more than 12 years ago now. And we've made a lot of progress. So our original 3 goals are still our true north. And our goals are to aspire to 100% renewable energy. We're well on our way. We're about 26%. To create zero waste and really think about, you know, more of a circular economy. We've made great progress in that as well. And then finally,
can you say where you are?
Yeah, we're about 82% diverted globally, in the U.S., about 77 globally. Backward. But great progress there that we've worked on in our own operations. And then within products, you know, the True North ambition is to sell products that are good for people and the environment. And so within that, you know, this area of kind of understanding what's the environmental impact of our product, working hard to really reduce that, and to provide access to affordable, great, safe, and healthy products in a transparent way. That's really what we're trying to do. And Project Gigaton is all about helping us achieve those goals within products.
And one of the ways that you've been working ever since the get-go is collaborating with some major NGOs. I know so much of the great work you've done to date has been with EDF, and I know Tom Murray and Elizabeth Sturkin are here and deserve kudos for that. And now more recently with WWF, and Sheila, there's a little bit of a homecoming here too, because you were executive director of the Sustainability Consortium that Walmart helped found. WWF has 3 of the pillars. Is that you're working with 3 of them? Talk a little bit about how you sort of divvied this up and what your role is here.
Good question. Actually, we worked together with Walmart on the design of the project and the overall strategy. So we were kind of the strategy partner or whatever you want to talk about. And then coming out with what the different pillars were, we are leading on a few of the pillars. As you said, there are other NGOs involved, EDF in particular, but CDP's involved, TSC's involved. So there are others involved in different aspects of the project. We are leading around energy, around waste, around deforestation, and mostly because that's where we have we work across everywhere. We're the largest global conservation organization. So we do work across everything, but we see this project and why it's so exciting for us, not just because of the size and the ambition, which is why we're there, the impact, but really it's also about this pre-competitive collaboration. It's a platform where companies can come together, where there's sort of a working together towards the same goal. So we do a number of pre-competitive collaborations. So in the energy space, we've got our REBA, the Renewable Energy Buyers Alliance, the We're Still In campaign. We've got Climate Savers, which is our own group within WWF. We have in waste, we're doing a lot of things around food waste. It's a very big area for us. In the more packaging side, we're doing a lot of things around materials. And then similarly, deforestation.
So let's talk about the relationship in Gigaton. Just so to people who aren't as familiar with how Walmart has worked, Sheila, are you consider yourself a consultant? Does Walmart pay you? What's your role in this, and how do you fit into just in the relationship?
Yeah, it's good. So we are not a consultant. We also aren't a certifier. We don't put our hand on things to say that this is good. But we are, we are an NGO, just as in the same way that, EDF or TNC or others who are our peers. But the way we work together with companies, and really our main motivation is to have impact. And why we work with companies? Because there are things that we can do working with companies that we cannot do on our own.
Right.
So we look to work with companies that, yes, we're looking for leaders, but what we're really looking for is transformative change. So we could just go out, work with the foundation, continue our deforestation work, right? But if we ignore the fact that companies play such a big role in that deforestation and don't work with them to drive it, right? All of our nice work that we're doing on the ground, and we've got a lot of boots on the ground doing nice work, it's not gonna be full, right? We're not gonna actually be able to solve the problem. So we know that we've got to work with business, and especially now in this political climate, this country, others, governments are just not stepping up. So we know that we have to work with business. We look to work with those businesses where we can actually drive really transformative change, and we're looking at that kind of industry level change. Right. It's not at all like a consultant, but.
And do you have a financial relationship with the Walmart?
We do. Usually our partners do. We have a financial relationship. Again, it's usually paying for some of the work that we're doing. Often we also do philanthropic work. And we will do work where we have, philanthropic partners, maybe doing something.
Yeah, I'm just trying to get under the tent here a little so people understand. Laura, given that most of the impacts you're trying to address here are in your supply chain,
right,
the 80 or 90 or whatever percent, I know in the past, certainly going back to the the early days with the scorecard and some of the things you're trying to do, there wasn't necessarily 100% buy-in, shall we say, from your suppliers, and there was some pushback and some grumbling. What have you learned about that in terms of how to engage suppliers so that, is it different this time? Is it working more smoothly? Talk a little bit about what you've learned.
Yeah, that's great. So you're right. Throughout our sustainability journey for Walmart, it's always been important to bring our suppliers along, really improve the sustainability of the products and the packaging that we sell throughout our stores, our websites, and our clubs. So we've learned a lot in terms of how to engage with suppliers, and I would tell you, really what we've seen is that the best approach for us is really about engaging with our suppliers, meeting them where they are, and really working together with them on kind of continuous improvement along the journey. So we have suppliers who are absolute leaders in this area, who are setting the pace. And that's great, and we want them to continue to lead and to do more, and we want to meet them there and challenge them to do even more. We have kind of a big middle, which they're interested, they just don't know what to do. And we find it really helpful in that case to be able to engage them with partners like WWF and CDP and EDF to say, hey, help these suppliers to kind of help make progress. And then we have some that aren't interested or just have no idea where to start, and we're giving them resources to just make a small change. And so I think we've learned just really how do we meet them where they are, how do we think about this as a continuous journey, and how do we help kind of motivate and recognize their progress wherever they are in that journey.
Yeah, because in a lot of cases you're asking them to make investments, sometimes significant investments in packaging changes, design changes, product changes, maybe other things. And of course, to absorb the costs, you're not going to invest in that or give them anything. Is that getting, do you see over the past 12 years that that's become an easier ask, that companies understand that there's a reason for this and there are benefits to them beyond continuing to be in your good graces?
Yeah, no, absolutely. Listen, we always want to make sure whatever we're working on with our suppliers is good for them and it's good for us. I mean, it's not a sustainable business relationship if we don't figure out that win-win. So that's really fundamental in how we think about all of our engagements with our suppliers. Within the work in sustainability, it's absolutely the case. I would tell you a couple of things we're seeing. First is the customer cares more and more about this area. In particular, millennial customers are telling us they really want us to be working on climate. And so if you're a brand or product at Walmart, this is an area that's really important to the customer. We've also seen in this area opportunities to reduce cost. And that's important everywhere through the supply chain. So whether it's optimizing packaging, improving kind of efficiency there, getting more sustainable materials, really looking at factory energy efficiency. We've done a lot of work in that space that helps save money throughout the supply chain. That's a great area that we want those suppliers to invest and reward in. And then growth. I would tell you, we are seeing brands who invest in sustainability, brands who connect in a way with customers around transparency through their supply chain, who talk about the sustainable practices, are brands that are experiencing high growth. So, really, Joel, it's great for the companies, and when they see that the efforts really pay off in their own business, that's what we want. That's how we're going to be able to sustain this.
I want to talk a little bit more quickly before we take a couple questions about this bringing along that big fat part of the bell curve in the middle, the companies that want to be come along for the journey but don't really have the tools. And Sheila, I'm wondering what you've learned in these pre-competitive spaces in bringing along. Because I'm pretty sure that most companies listening have some supply chain partners that are in a similar situation, and bringing them in and moving them along and getting them up to the speed of the leaders has got to be a big challenge. What are you doing?
Well, I think it's a huge challenge, but one of the things I like again about the project structure is actually meeting them where they are. Right. So part of it is, looking at where your biggest impact is and starting there and not having to do everything, right? Or not having to do like this, this project has only this one area and you have to fit in your square cog in the round hole.
So when you're talking about where the biggest impacts for that supplier,
for that
supplier's biggest impact.
Right, so and it's kind of this idea of it's not a one size fits all. So I think the suppliers can start where they actually can drive impact. And I think that's a really important piece of the puzzle, because it's really, really hard to start in and say, oh my God, I'm going to do, I have to do science-based target. Well, many of them don't even know where to start, but they can start on energy efficiency. Right. Or maybe that's not, anything to do with what their business is about, and they really need to start looking at, waste. But I think the other piece is that we've gathered together a lot of resources and tried to make available. I think one of the things that's challenging is how not to recreate the wheel and kind of make up something totally new and tell people there's new rules and new things to do. And so what we've tried to do is tap into all the expertise out there. As you said, there's others of our peers involved to provide these resources and access so that they know where to go and they can get started.
A lot of hand-holding, a lot of hand-to-hand combat. Elaine, what questions are we getting?
Yeah, we have a few questions. I'm going to ask a two-part question. So first is a short one. What fraction of the 1 gigaton was already committed to or underway by its suppliers before Project Gigaton? So that's the first quick question.
I don't know if I know the answer to that. I would tell you we're going to be sharing, coming up in April, we have our annual sustainability milestone meeting. We'll be talking about the progress we've made in the first year to Gigaton and really sharing some of the results in year 1 of the program.
Okay, cool. So going then to the suppliers, because obviously they're engaging in Project Gigaton, but for the suppliers that have limited capacity, what's the one thing you think they can do with Project Gigaton, and what is the most maybe promising or impactful action?
Great. I would say two things. One is, as Sheila mentioned, we've created a great kind of toolkit, and it's online, and we really want to create more of kind of a community feel around all who are engaged in Project Gigaton. And I mean, it's open to really everybody, you know, to get in, help us shape it and frame it. So we have the Sustainability Hub. It's called walmartsustainabilityhub.com. There's a ton of tools and information on there. I would say learn, get started. And just educate yourselves about what are the issues, where should you really engage. And then the second thing is just pick an area to get started. We have seen lots of suppliers engage in just small ways and take it as an opportunity to get to know, you know, what's important to their own associates in their company, you know, what's important to their customers. Think through that lens. And I think those companies who think about this as an opportunity to really innovate and to engage find great benefit in the business and also deliver really strong environmental impact.
Let's get another question.
This one is a little bit more specific. So given the promise of healthy soils and soil regeneration, as we heard yesterday from Drawdown, in order to reduce greenhouse gas emissions and sequester carbon, is that part of the Project Gigaton agriculture pillar?
Yeah, I think it's both part of the agriculture pillar and a little bit deforestation. We think of conversion when we think of deforestation. But yeah, I think one of the nice things about the project is that it is about carbon, but typically, like with agriculture, if you pursue more sustainable farming practices or agricultural practices, you're going to get a ripple-on effect where it's going to affect multiple other things, not just the carbon, but you're going to affect water, and you're going to affect other resources and land use and the soil. So I think it will absolutely have a positive effect there.
Yeah, we're seeing a lot of our suppliers doing great work on soil right now, and so we're really encouraged by that, absolutely.
Yeah. So you've got basically a 12-year run to get to this gigaton goal. What keeps you up at night in terms of whether you can actually pull this off?
You know, Joel, from what I've seen, you know, when we launched the program last year, I thought it would be good. I would tell you the engagement that we've seen, the interest level from our suppliers has been great. They're engaged, they want to learn more, they want to participate. We've already had over 400 sign up with commitments that range from really simple small changes to signing up for science-based targets throughout a massive supply chain of their own Scope 3. So I would tell you that part is really exciting. I think for us to, you know, achieve the goals, we need more. And so, you know, really figuring out what's that right approach with all of those suppliers across that entire supply chain. We operate in a lot of different sectors and a lot of different markets. And how do we really tailor into that sector and into that market to really get the right approach to get even more involved in a way that benefits them and also, you know, benefits the work and the impact.
So it's really that delicate dance of pushing and pulling, and carrots and sticks, in terms of, because you don't really have sticks, I don't think, in this scenario. So it's just really how much can you bring them along. Sheila, how about you?
I guess I worry about your question about the middle, right? How are we going to get the middle and the laggards to step up and commit and start? And so I think our challenge is really to make it really accessible so that they can get in, so that they can start learning. But you know, I want this to happen. I want to see not just the guys who we see all the time making even bigger commitments, and they are. And that is fabulous, but I want to see a lot of the players that just haven't been part of this conversation. And then that's what makes me nervous. They're not there yet,
Yeah.
moving them along.
Yeah. One of the great things about Gigaton is that it has helped broaden the conversation and brought in some new players. And so thank you for this conversation. We were out of time, but please join me in thanking Sheila and Laura.
Thank you.